welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn Doors and Corners, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
I'm Zach.
And tonight, we are launching into... This isn't a new trilogy. This is 3 movies, all adapting the same source material, of varying degrees of quality and from very different eras. What are we watching tonight, Zach?
That's a good way to put it. Tonight we're going to be watching an adaptation of the classic novel War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Starting with this one, War of the Worlds, 1953. And next week, we're going to be doing War of the Worlds. And the week after that, we're going to be doing War of the Worlds. Now, we're specifically settling on the ones that I think are the most mainstream.
Yeah.
Because War of the Worlds has been adapted so many stinking times. Part of that being the fact that it is considered public domain. But also it's a classic story. Independence Day is quite literally an adaptation of War of the Worlds. That they've straight up said it. I don't think it's credited in the credits or anything like that. Wow, credited, but I couldn't think of the word credits. But it was inspired by it. It was inspired by this movie.
Yeah.
And there have been TV shows and mini series and all these things. And for some reason, none of these movies adapt the best part of the book, which is the battle of the HMS Thunderchild. And I will forever be salty about it, and you'll hear about it every single one of these podcasts.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I will not watch the new one until I absolutely have to for recording this, because every source that I trust and every other source, literally all of them, tell me how bad it is. The Ice Cube one from last year.
Same. I'm going to be going in dry.
Oh, you're going to watch it first time while we record?
Yes.
Oh, maybe I should do that too. That would be really interesting. Just get a really live reaction. Okay, all right. If you're okay with that, I will do that. Well, enjoy that. I've watched so many reviews in that movie. I feel like I already know a lot about it because, like so many people, it was just so irresistible to watch reviews talking about just how bad it was. And it actually got Dan Murrell, who I respect very much. People who listen to the show know that, to do a kind of like clickbait, I'm going to review a bad movie on purpose, which he does not do. He actually really tries to not engage in that type of internet traffic. But it was like I couldn't resist it. And I believe that it's his highest viewed video he's ever done, which he kind of hates a little bit because it just shows him what kind of numbers he could do if he engaged in that kind of content. And he's like, I don't want to do it. He's trying to resist. I feel bad for him. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so... Okay, so my point was, before I got totally garbage-hauled there, is the thing that I always liked about the novel, and I've read the novel, but it's been a long time. I rewatched this last year because my daughter read it. So every summer I have a challenge with my kids to read, to get through a couple books, like actual hard copy books. For everybody out there wondering, that's where you have paper and you turn pages. It's pretty cool. You should all try it. And I have a contest. Are you
insulting my Audible addiction?
I love Audible. I freaking love Audible. But I also have an unhealthy addiction to hardback copies of books in my shelf, and also stacked and in boxes. And anyways, my poor kids, when I die, they're gonna have to sort through all this crap. But
dude, same.
Yeah. But I always have a kind of a prize of some kind, and I try to encourage them to read classics, and not in a like, you have to read this for school kind of way. Like, no, these are like, you should read these because these are where the inspirations began for some of the favorite stories you guys have. And I have a nice, from, I think it was published in the 70s, like a nice hardback collection of the majority of H.G. Wells' work. And so she read Time Machine, War of the Worlds, and then after she read them, she got talking to me about them, and we ended up actually on a Saturday and Sunday. We had a weekend. It was H.G. Wells, and we watched both the old and new versions of both Time Machine and War of the Worlds. And it was a lot of fun, actually. I mean, those movies are varying degrees of quality, but it was a lot of fun just to revisit them and watch them with my kids. So that was my last time watching this. My very, very belabored point at this stage of the conversation is nobody's really ever done a proper, the aliens come out and are basically immune right away. In both this version, this version literally has the atomic bomb doing nothing, which Independence Day very much did their version of that also, right? They even did it with the B-2 to kind of mirror the experimental flying wing they show in this film, which is a cool little nod, by the way. And then in Tom Cruise's movie also, they show like until they're weakened, at the very, very end, that its shields are down or whatever. In the novel, several of the tripods are destroyed by, the weaponry of the day.
The HMS Thunderchild.
Yeah, and that's why you triggered this. That, obviously the aliens still ended up running rampant and winning, but that there were some legitimate victories, and literally victories by the type of military hardware in the late 1800s. This book was written before World War I. We're talking steamships were like pinnacle stuff back then.
Because the whole thing is that like the tripods had like their shields weren't energy shields. They were like hats. They were like actual shields, and they would bend them towards anybody attacking. And if they could get an artillery shell to hit underneath that shield, it would harm the tripod. They made them very difficult to bring down, but they made them possible to bring down.
And I think that end,
love the Thunderchild scene so much. Like, I played Star Trek Online for years. Did you ever play that, Brian?
I dabbled in it, never got too far.
You know how you could get your own ship and you could name it and customize it and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I got to like late game and I only ever had the USS Thunderchild.
Isn't that
like
an Akira class ship from First Contact? Didn't they name it Thunderchild?
Not an Akira class. It was a class that was specifically made up for.
Are you sure?
The actual movie. It was present during the Battle of.
I'm right, by the way.
What do they call it? The Battle of Sector 001 at the beginning of Star Trek First Contact.
It's an Akira class.
Oh no, you're right. It was an Akira class.
I know my Star Trek. It's an Akira class.
Okay, but it's a weird Akira class. It's not the same.
It's
Akira
the original.
Class as the others.
It's like it's the first appearance of the Akira class in First Contact.
Yeah, but its nacelles are like welded to its saucer section.
It is. Yeah, it's a little bit different for sure, but it's beautiful ship. Because it has that beauty shot of firing its torpedoes, and then the Enterprise E comes up and fires its quantum torpedoes. The first showing on screen of quantum torpedoes. Very cool.
And that was a reference.
On a movie theater screen. Sorry, they'd been on TV and DS9 before that. People out there are going to crucify me if I get Star Trek trivia wrong. So, all right, I'm done now.
And that was a direct homage to War of the Worlds in having the Thunderchild be a significant part of the Battle of Sector 001.
Yeah. So yeah, I would
none of the major movies, like one of the miniseries tried it, but it was obviously kind of low budget. Have properly done the Battle of the Thames with the Thunderchild taking down the tripods, and I'm forever going to be a little salty about that because it'd be freaking cool. And I was really hoping, because I'd already read the book, that the 2005 Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg War of the Worlds would have a scene with like an American battleship taking down a tripod by ramming it, but they didn't.
Something, yeah. I would have, I would have loved a victory of some kind by Earth forces that then got ended up still being futile because the disadvantage was too great and the number of tripods. It's none of the adaptations are perfect, and if all the reviewers would be believed, and I've no doubt that they are, one of them is horrifically bad. But I wish that there had been something. Interestingly, both this and the 2005 version do stick with the original ending, which that kind of surprises me. I would have thought somebody would have, for all the changes, and we'll get into it. This movie is, so many changes for the book that they stuck with that ending, which is, I think, by modern storytelling standards, very anticlimactic. Even though I actually really enjoy the implications of it, there's something kind of beautiful about the idea that man couldn't stop it, and something I like it's really down to how you execute it, though, right? It's really down to how you show it. So, anyways, this film specifically, I watched this a lot as a kid. This book obviously was a hugely inspirational. H.G. Wells and Jules Verne, I think, are rightly accredited as kind of being the modern, like fathers of like kind of modern science fiction. Even though obviously they were inspired by people, I know that there's always inspirations that go back deeper than what popular culture remembers. But they really did kind of birth a lot of the modern ideas. And of course, the radio drama of this by Orson Welles is infamous. Although I have read multiple times that the reports of it, like people thinking it was real, like that's been kind of exaggerated. Like there were some people.
It has.
But
I did some research on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it has been exaggerated. For those of you who don't know, in 1933, Orson Welles did an oral presentation of War of the Worlds as if he was the actual narrator. It wasn't a direct reading of the book, but acting as if the book was happening around him. And it had commercials, and they very clearly called it like a radio adaptation, and they had advertisements for it and stuff. But for some people, given that it was playing out and had all the stuff and sound effects for it as if it was an actual radio broadcast, didn't realize it was happening. And very specifically, in a certain area, during that time, there was a massive power outage and blackout while this was going on that led some people to think that it was actually happening, and it did lead to some small-scale riots. It is, of course, completely exaggerated, with people saying like, oh, half the country believed that we were under attack by aliens. No, but there were some people who had never heard anything like it before. And to have a performance as incredible as Orson frickin' Welles, okay? And then to see evidence of catastrophe. It drove some people a little nutso.
Fair. Yeah. I got something similar in my research that it did happen, but some sources make it sound like it was this widespread, very common thing that people just thought that we were actually under attack by aliens. I was like, okay, but
I'll tell you though, the opening to War of the Worlds is one of my absolute favorite. That first paragraph of the book, and I once had that memorized. Like, I was like 14, 15 years old. Did you ever read that part?
I mean, I have not read the book myself in probably like 12 to 15 years, somewhere like that. So go ahead.
Oh, now I was just going to bring it up because actually, you know what? I have the book here.
Say, go for it.
You brought this upon yourself, Brian.
I didn't bring anything of myself. I like this kind of stuff.
I'm going to be an audiobook narrator now.
All right, Orson Welles.
I better get on now.
That's your standard.
No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that this world was being watched keenly and closely by intelligences infinitely greater than man's and yet as mortal as his own. That men, as they busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacency, men went to and fro over this globe about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their empire over matter. It is possible that the germs under the microscope do the same. No one gave thought to the older worlds of space as sources of human danger, or thought of them only to dismiss the idea of life upon them as impossible or improbable. It is curious to recall some of the mental habits of those departed days. At most, terrestrial men fancied there might be other men upon Mars, perhaps inferior to themselves and ready to welcome a missionary enterprise. Yet across the gulf of space, minds that are to our minds as ours are to those of the beasts that perish, intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic, regarded the earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely drew plans against us. and early in the 20th century came the Great Disillusionment.
Yeah, it's a good opening.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
to hear it recited in the 2005 War of the Worlds by frickin' Morgan Freeman, good God.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew the gist of what the opening was, but I didn't remember the exact words. So that's awesome, man. Yeah, this is one of those two where this is it's a well written novel. It's very of its time. I mean, it assumes a lot of things about specifically like Mars that we know now, to not be true, obviously. But just like this film, and we'll talk about it. I don't want to go through the whole thing now because we'll talk about it as you watch. This is from 1953. This is very similar to when we recorded another movie that I just love, which is The Day the Earth Stood Still from 1951. So just 2 years earlier. This is early science fiction, at least as far as like this is mainstream, like made for a theater. They're actually treated with a little bit of serious energy and given an effects budget and released in theaters, not as kind of a B-level, it's for those people. And so this is one of those early examples of that. And I have a lot of love for this, and the novel, like this version of the film, has a lot of things in it that are very of its time, but I think that there's a lot of really good idea there inside of the stuff that we now look back on and kind of consider quaint or even silly. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I think that we should go ahead and get started. There's a lot to talk about here because this is an interesting one.
Why don't you give us a brief rundown, please?
A brief rundown. This is The War of the Worlds from the year 1953. By our standards, it is rated G. 1 hour and 27 minutes long. Brisk. Directed by Byron Haskins, written by Barry Lyndon, and of course inspired by the book written by H.G. Wells, starring Gene Barry and Anne Robinson primarily, as well as Les Tremayne, Robert Corinthwaite, Sandro Giglio, and Lewis Martin.
Yeah. Nice brisk pace too, This movie doesn't feel rushed, honestly. They for its length, it gets through a decent amount. So also, we are this movie we're just watching the recorded, the version you can get like on Amazon. I do recommend anybody who gets a chance, see this, see a more modern streaming version of this or a modern either Blu-ray or 4K, because they VHS and DVD copies of this, they had not transferred it quite right, and actually the effects started to age really badly. But if you watch a good modern version of this, you get a good print of the original. Technicolor. And the effects actually like hold up again. Like there was, anyways, we'll talk about more when we get to like seeing the ships. But please do yourself a favor and don't find an old DVD copy of this. Like pay the $3 to rent it, or get a proper Blu-ray or 4K version of this movie. It's worth it.
A Blu-ray version.
Blu-ray version. The Blu-ray. And as always, if you're enjoying this, please throw us a thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs down's fine too. It's feedback. A comment on whatever platform you happen to be listening to this. And if you want to watch along with us, we are going to hit that play button in 3, 2, 1, go.
So one of the funny things that's brought up about this movie almost instantaneously is that the rights to the movie in getting made were messed up, and they didn't realize it. They thought they had the rights to the movie, Paramount, but nope. They had the rights to making a silent version of the movie, so they had to pause production to sort out the rights issue because they weren't allowed to make a talking movie.
Whoops. We recorded all this dialogue. This whole opening montage is interesting too, because this is like, again, this is a very Cold War inspired film. Even down to just the very militaristic, vibe of a lot of it. Caravan of Garbage brought this up, but I thought it was funny. Yeah, the font, it's that stenciled font that you find in the military, the MASH font.
Specifically World War II.
Yeah. Even though MASH is Korea, I mean, they did still, the military used that stencil font for a long time. But yes, 1952,
they still do.
Yeah, Korea was going. World War II was still very much in memory, and the Cold War was in full bloom. So, just a different time. I think it's hard for sometimes us to really understand what it felt like, where nuclear weapons were still very new and scary, and the Russians had just gotten them, and the world, as much as the 1950s were kind of an idealistic setting when it came to like the economy and kind of the Americana of everything, the world was an interesting place politically, right?
Yeah.
So
It was really strange. Like, it's one of those things that was moderately peaceful by comparison,
yeah,
but it was such a time of evolution across
Yeah.
technology and politics and society. But yeah, here he is reciting part of that very same opening that I read.
yeah.
Slowly and surely drew their plans against us. And of course, they stick with the Martian thing, though I would have it noted that was later changed. Did you know about the sequel to this?
I know that
Brian?
there is like what I would consider like a direct to DVD type, sequel, even though I know that's not the appropriate term actually for the era. But yeah, this is
Yeah.
kind of like when we did The Mummy. Like there's so many other ones, like sequels to this and then other like really low level effort, adaptations that right?
Not entirely for this one, okay?
Okay.
This had a sequel in the form of a TV show
Oh,
that
okay. I
was
didn't know
in
about that.
1988 and ran for 2 seasons, and even had Anne Robinson return as her character, Sylvia Van Buren, from this.
Really?
And it lasted for 2 seasons. It used the same looking ships and everything. And it aired on it like I don't remember where it aired on actually. I'm sorry, but yeah, it lasted for 2 seasons, and it used the same aliens and all this stuff, and they gave them all kinds of weird, deep lore, and it was not very remembered, but it was actually quite well reviewed. It was made by some of the same people as little TV shows like Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica.
This whole opening with all of these, like, I mean, they're quaint, but they're kind of beautiful. Like all these different, spacescapes they're basically coming up with of, supposedly Jupiter and Mercury, and here we get Earth in this very interesting, it looks like a kind of a nice globe, just with the perfect United States silhouette right there.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest changes, obviously, from the book. This is very much an adaptation that moves the story to America. I mean, much as the Steven Spielberg movie does, but this is obviously it's a very British book. It's all set, in parts of England, and then the ruins of London, and this movie is all about not just America specifically, but the Southern California area. So Hollywood was like, if we're gonna make this, it's gonna be Hollywood.
And much like the book, they don't waste time in getting right to, oh, here's something fallen to Earth, and everybody's real curious about it.
Everybody's reaction here is so great. It's just like, oh, look at it. We should go see it. We gotta, just go check it out.
Right?
This old like
I love the
Firewatch
technicolor in
station.
this thing.
It's great. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Guy playing cards.
Um,
Looking at this guy's cards. He's just cheating.
Right? So I thought that this actor was a specific person, and I couldn't find any indication that it was, but I had confused this guy thinking that he was in several James Bond movies and Superman the movie. I thought that he was an actor by the name of Clifton James. He appears as Sergeant Pepper in Officer Pepper in several James Bond movies, and they even take that character and bring him over to Superman 2 as the sheriff.
Oh, really?
Gets menaced by the Kryptonians. I thought that was him. I was looking for his name everywhere, trying to find it, and then I found out that it's not him.
Now that you said, so I remember him from Superman 2. Yeah, I can see a little bit of what you're thinking.
Yeah,
This,
I'm not totally crazy.
Yeah, this whole thing is you got the Forest Service up here, and then just the idea. I do. I love the idea that there's some scientists that are like over camping close to us. We should drive over there and just this is the era where a scientist is just like a general scientist, right? It's not a specialist.
Yeah.
It's just if you're a scientist, you must know a lot about everything. And
Yeah.
this guy's so funny. He comes up and just
He is. Just starts taking their stuff.
yeah, you
like-
got some food?
Mr. Moocher. Okay, this guy has
gosh.
a look to his face that seems like neurodivergent by today's standards.
Also,
It's like his eyes are slightly far apart and beady. His interactions with them
Yeah.
are just a little bit like off kilter.
yeah,
And I'm like, would this man be considered autistic by today's standards?
maybe. I just love where he's just like, yeah, like chewing with his mouth open, right? He like spits a bit of his biscuit in the one guy in the flannel shirt there, and he's like, "What is that?" Just pulls a cigarette right out of his pocket and just, yeah, you're right. It's just too. I'll smoke it later.
Right.
Oh, the interaction is it's just. I wonder if the intent was to just be a little bit of comedy before things got a little bit serious. Or
Yeah.
if maybe the filmmakers had somebody in mind that they kind of wanted to poke a little fun at that maybe they knew in real life.
Yeah, this movie was it does get pretty serious too. It was
Oh, yeah.
banned in several countries, including England. They refused to show it.
Yeah, it was like rated X,
saying
right?
that it was like too violent.
Yeah.
And like unnecessarily cruel. One of the things that you note about this movie is that a lot of the people are sweating all the time. They're very hot. The lights that they had going in this place were insane. And they constantly were dealing with people having heat stroke. They had to cycle them in and out constantly.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, this a lot of this was shot on location in Southern California, right? And then obviously in studios for a lot of it. But yeah, it's I wonder what time.
I love this whole thing about them like just screwing around with it, and they want to set up like a little like sell tamales and hot dogs and set up picnic tables.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is something that would happen. I remember my grandparents telling me some stories about some crazy stuff that happened. There'd be like an air show or like practice going on for an air show, and people would just be like, "Oh, we're gonna set up some tables and just watch them,"
Yeah.
and do stuff, and eat food and sell tamales. It was their entertainment,
Just gonna-
And here
it's just gonna go down.
we
and-
have
Go ahead.
God's given right to all man when encountering something strange to poke it with a stick.
That's the first thing you do. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not sure, just poke it, and then if that
Mhm.
just give it a smack, see what happens.
Which, yes, I do have to give credit to that joke to the YouTube creator Roanoke or Roanoke Tales, who loves making that joke about something unknown. Poke with a stick.
It's what you do. Is the only
Oh, I hate her
acceptable human
hair.
reaction.
Only acceptable here. Like,
And
this
we-
dude looks like freaking Clark Kent, okay? This
Oh, yeah,
is
he
Clark
does.
Kent and Lois Lane right here. Look at these two.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy for this era too. I mean, I know he did a few other films, and
Very attractive leads. Like, that's one of the things. Like, even with the 50s style, because the male 50s style is kind of classic. Any guy
Yeah.
could look like that in any era, and he's not really going to stand out. The hair does date the woman a little bit, but even so, like what she's wearing and stuff like that could blend in pretty much anywhere. But even so, she's a very attractive woman.
And as much as it's interesting, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but I mean, again, this is early 1950s. We have an interesting combination here of they did make the lead woman a scientist.
Mhm.
I'm not going to claim that they gave her much to do, but the fact that they even made her a scientist was actually considered progressive for the era. But I read in multiple places that it was a like very hard studio note that you had to have a romance. It was just
Yeah.
you had to have a romance. It was just a requirement,
'cause-
especially of films of this era.
The original book is about a husband and a
He's looking
wife,
for his wife.
or specifically about the husband as he's trying to reunite with his wife across the country while this thing is going on. That's the whole crux of it, and they very, very loosely adapt that for Steven Spielberg's. I almost said William Shakespeare's. Good God.
Okay.
No, Steven Spielberg.
Uh-oh.
William Shakespeare's War of the Worlds would be interesting.
I do love the fact
Um,
that he's got just this sitting with his tackle gear. You know?
I mean, they're scientists. They were
Yeah.
doing science stuff.
I mean,
And they do specify that he was a professor of nuclear physics.
yes. I just love the fact that like sitting next to his tackle box is a Geiger counter because why not?
Yeah. Geiger counters are fascinating because the clicking of a Geiger counter, even in today's era, it's terrifying.
Oh, it is. It's so universally understood. It's like the nuclear symbol. It's just bad. You know it's bad.
Mm-hmm. It's like, we leave.
And of course they're just like, it's probably fine. We shouldn't all like leave.
Yeah. Well, this, it was during a time when nuclear weapons weren't fully understood, but the reputation was there. They were terrifying. You were getting comics around this time dealing with the oddities of nuclear stuff. Godzilla was around this time, the first one. So it was the thing. It was the fresh, interesting, hip thing, like AI is today.
Yeah. I do like the kind of the little bit of just also the idea that the city minister is a big deal because again at this point he would have been a key figure in most communities, and just the idea that no, you don't get a hotel, people put you up, and it's what are we supposed to do?
Dancing.
Yeah, we're gonna go
and
dancing.
She's dressed like freaking Little Bo Peep. Have you ever been to a dance like this?
I have. I have not participated because you do
same.
not want to see me dance. It's a scary sight. But
no offense, Brian.
I have
but
stood on the
I bet
sidelines.
that is true.
Oh, yeah. I think you saw me try at your wedding, and it was
Your
scary.
Wedding. Yeah.
Zach and I was going to say Pat, on the other hand, is actually quite entertaining to watch dance. He's very good.
Right.
But,
he's
not me.
quite skilled.
Okay, this is one of the few things that is actually almost a straight up adaptation of the book. The approaching with the white flag. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because
go ahead.
it's just the odd human idea of yes, white flag. They'll know what that is.
Why? But we do. I think that's where it seems absurd, yet it's the human version that happens all the time. Where when somebody doesn't speak our language, or we just think, well, if I just talk louder, they'll understand me. Like, why would you possibly think that? But yet we do it all the time. We just assume things that don't make any sense. Like that is a realistic human thing.
Mm-hmm. That's why, alien stuff. It's just like we're fairly certain that prime numbers would be something they would understand. That's used in a lot of fiction and supposedly in real life.
Yeah. Well, I do get the idea that certain mathematics would be the closest we could come up with the universal language, which I don't think is a bad idea. I love how just perfectly well machined threads those are. Like that is clearly like a human piece of machinery. Like why would they aliens have used threads essentially?
I don't know. That's not entirely unreasonable. If you're doing interstellar travel, you actually don't want the most complex stuff possible. You want things very simple. But it is also just a 50s movie, so
it is. The design of these things,
unscrewing of a cylinder like that in a lid is right out of the book.
Yes.
So that is worth noting.
Yeah. But the this is a decent reveal here too. I think just you got the. I mean, again, this looks so dated, but think of this again in the era that this was in beautiful Technicolor, which was a new thing at that point. Just the fact that this picture is so vivid was a big deal. Mm-hmm. That this prop, it's moving. There's some pacing going on here. I would say the music in this movie is pretty good too. And
yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah. They are taking their time to let. I mean, as fast as this movie starts going, I think that they do build some legitimate tension here with the unveiling of the this first encounter, and then when their silhouettes are discovered, to put it that way.
Yeah. Do you know which movie had one of these aliens present in it most recently?
I feel like I just read this today as I was skimming through the history of this story, but I do not remember. I'm sorry.
Ready Player One.
Okay, yes, I remember reading. Okay, you said that, and I'm like,
It had a functioning one done in modern technology, and for all that movie's faults, because there's a lot of issues with it, I think it gets bashed more than it does deserve in some ways.
no, it deserves
But
all of it.
man, like, well, you and I have slightly different views on that.
It's fine. I'm just
understand the book is impossible to adapt. It would cost like $1 billion just in rights. But seeing this ship in operation in modern technology is terrifying.
yeah.
Also, do you have any idea how much that freaking prop would be worth these days?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so much, but it was like it's a tragedy, right? That these props were like basically sold and scrapped. They weren't preserved.
They were donated to a Boy Scouts of America copper drive. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the models for the alien ships specifically, which they refer to as the war machines, are made of copper, like molded plated copper. Like, dang.
Oh,
Sound
that
effect.
first sound effect, yeah. The power
Yeah.
going out. I also I
Do you
always
know
found
the
it
first
I found it funny that the white flag was tied to the shovel that they hit the ship with. I always thought maybe it was a little bit like, yeah, they're coming at me with the weapon that they used earlier to smack my ship with.
I also just think they're assholes.
No, I agree. It's just interesting that they're the detail of them actually using the shovel that has the clear like dent in it from earlier is what they're using. But yeah, that sound effect, that like, I don't know how to replicate it, but it's this like it's an intense, and that's the heat wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
The heat gun.
The first time the heat ray, the first time I ever heard that heat ray was actually in the movie Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Oh gosh.
It was used at the beginning of the movie when they have those flying machines stealing generators out of the middle of New York City. The beams that they used to cut through the ground was the sound effects of the heat rays from this movie.
Everybody's watches stopped. The idea, though, now, I also think there's a little bit here of there's still of just the idea that not just power, but like just mechanical devices in general being kind of rendered inert.
Yeah, matter is being affected at a level that we can't even begin to understand. It's godlike in our little minds.
Well, let me demonstrate magnetism to you.
Mm-hmm. I like magnets.
It is.
I'm literally working with magnets right now.
Of course, the guy just has a compass in his pocket because, yes. And then the music.
Yeah.
Those like music cues, too, of just... I'm not mocking that he did, but it's just, again, an era, in that era, yeah. A police officer
Yeah,
or
especially
somebody.
a cop.
Yeah. But the
need
police
those
car
things.
is working just fine.
They didn't have solenoids.
Right, changing they stole that crappy minivan from the 80s.
Yeah. The solenoids comment will make sense if you tune in next week.
Yes. The first half of that movie is actually quite good.
I actually think the whole movie is quite good. People will give the second half more shit than it deserves.
They do.
The second half's more accurate to the book than almost anything else that
Yeah.
we've seen.
Well, I also think that even a okay Spielberg film is better than, most people's
90%
best
of the
efforts.
Yeah. I mean, the man got his master's in filmography by submitting as his thesis, what do you call it? Schindler's List.
It works. This is a good prop work here though too. You got these cars on fire.
The special effects and props in this movie are fantastic.
Well, this movie
silhouettes very much based after atomic bomb silhouettes.
Yeah, it even got the melted shovel head next to it there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I never noticed that.
Yeah. Well, because this movie had a roughly a $2 million budget, and what is it, 1.4 or 1.6? I mean, almost three quarters of the entire budget was special effects.
Yeah, this is not an exaggeration. $2 million to make a movie was expensive back then, like extremely expensive.
Just the idea that they just get abandoned.
Yeah,
but it's a good thing they didn't get in the car.
Cop. But this is a slight exaggeration in some ways, but it's also not. This movie is the Avatar of its day. The 2009 James Cameron Avatar, in terms of special effects, production value, all that. It was huge. Nothing had ever been like it.
Yep, there's another one.
SpaghettiOs.
You better get word to the military.
Dun, dun, dun.
But I mean, we just like how fast we, because you have, okay, we're going to wait for it to cool off, go square dancing. 3 guys get vaporized. They run back up because there's a fire going again. And then, nope, the military shows up. And of course, in this era, when the military shows up, you always get this. It's always a bunch of half deuces, or deuces and a halves, full of troops and a bunch of jeeps. And they almost always have a few who are like howitzers with them, like they're towing. Like that's just most of the military.
Do you know
movies,
what that is? Do you know what that is for this era?
Well, they had all the surplus that Hollywood had sitting around.
No, specifically. Well, yes and no. For this particular movie, every single one of those guys is actually Southern California National Guard. They just said, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" They're like, "Sure." And they rolled up with all their stuff. Those are actual members of the the California National Guard.
Really?
Just doing their stuff for the filming.
I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Including the stuntman, big quotes around that, the guy later in the movie who gets lit on fire. And it's like one of the most intense fire scenes because they didn't have the same safeties that we have these days. And he got pretty badly burnt. But apparently he was really proud of his work at the same time.
It's so interesting here. You have this montage of people. I mean, we do the same thing in modern films, right? We have montages of people like watching the news, right? Or nowadays the montages is people on their phones, right? Watching something. Back then you have these montages of people sitting around radios, but you have you're unpacking a lot of the theories around aliens here all of a sudden, and it's a very dense.
But it's also. I also think that a lot of those scenes of them, like at the party and stuff like that we just kind of glanced over in that little montage, is supposed to represent that line from the book that with infinite complacency, men went to and fro about the globe with their little affairs, serene in their assurance of their empire over matter.
Yeah. The Air Forcemen. We're going to get some pictures. The idea that...
the Air Force would have been fairly new.
Yep.
That'd be like us using the Space Force in today's movie.
This keeps up, it'll be a guide for the plane. I do like that there is some genuine attempt at like, okay, we're going to hold back. We're going to get they're getting reconnaissance, right?
Mm-hmm. They had some really good military advisors on this movie.
Yeah. Because how would a 1950s military respond to this?
I'd probably drop a nuke on it.
They probably would. Uh-oh, but we're going to shoot up...
Like nuclear testing! High-pitched screeching. That sound effect is still used in a lot of things these days. Not just the heat ray, but just that little, like... that shaky sound, almost snake-like sound.
Man.
Run, Forrest, run.
Lots of fire. The fact that this reporter, though, he's still trying... Pulls the cord.
I mean, war reporters, man.
Oh, they were...
This would have been around the time of the Korean War and everything. And some of the Korean War reporters were nuts. I mean, go watch, what was that movie? Not Band of Brothers. We Were Soldiers?
Yeah.
It's about a war correspondent.
Joe Calloway. Yeah, because he co-wrote the book with, General Hal Moore. Yeah. Yeah. Legit here, brave guys.
Stuff. Yeah. And this was about that time. One of the things that they couldn't get that they were interested in getting because it just wasn't quite like achieved at this time was helicopters, because this was the era of air cavalry. But
Well, I mean, air
supposedly one of the
cavalry as
shots
a
that they talked about.
concept. I mean, it was
Mhm.
1950, 53. We were just starting to think of helicopters in combat use besides just evacuating. So here, of course, we have our scientist. She's got coffee and donuts and a Red Cross patch. And again, people we see this and that it's fine to be like,
Yeah.
it seems like a waste, but this is the 1950s. He's
Yeah.
nice to her.
And those look like really good
They
donuts.
they probably were. Can you imagine? I want a donut made with 1950s like ingredients and the quality of the ingredients back then. I bet they were amazing.
Yeah.
And here you've got again we're I do I mean I appreciate that Spielberg wanted to kind of go to an everyman's perspective. I mean this movie tries to treat it a little bit more like this movie tries to treat it like almost like a documentary of how you would respond to it, kind of from the scientist is the point of view character, but here the way they're showing all this is really trying to kind of show this in a realistically kind of hard way of what the military is doing, and here's how we're planning, and here's the conversations behind the scenes. And also too, I want to point out the scientist seems so just kind of unfazed. Everybody's got a very just like, all right, this is interesting, we're checking this out. He doesn't really get into the intensity until later,
I think that's one of those signs of the times thing, whether it's like, oh, maybe they just wanted to have a stoic main character or whatever. But I also think that it's supposed to be, these are the guys who he looks like he's in his 30s, right? So
Yeah.
that means that he would have been of fighting age during World War II. These are all World War II veterans. They're the type who just don't crack under pressure and
Yeah.
craziness. The things that they lived through and saw and dealt with, the evolution of technology just in that short time was insane.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yep, we're here. Okay, aliens, let's figure this crap out.
Yeah. We got this.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting too that they have the Marine Corps and not the Army handling this. I found that an interesting little detail. I think in cinema specifically, even though this would have probably been an Army unit in realism, but in cinema the Marines had a little more of a mystique at this point in American cinema.
Yes, that's very true. In fact, it was a huge propaganda piece against the Soviet Union, that the Marines were like, given that they were going to be the first boots on the ground if there was any type of action against the Soviet Union, they were building them up as America's like great fighting force that was tougher and smarter and faster and more vicious than anybody else, and they were just gonna tear you apart if you got near them, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I actually have this thing. Okay,
Go for it.
I've talked about this with what is it? Superman. Okay, I think that it'd be really cool to have a Superman movie that was kind of like a documentary taking place after his life, and where you can just kind of like go over the various stages and kind of have dramatized filming of it and interviews with people who knew him, like Bruce Wayne and Batman and yada yada yada. I think that War of the Worlds would actually be a really good not mockumentary, but faux documentary style movie where you're doing it after the fact. You're interviewing survivors. You're going over archive footage and stuff like that.
If you
I
actually
think that would
shot
be a really good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing. I would love to see it. You're describing like if you actually shot the book World War Z. If you actually shot it the way it was written.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. How World War Z should be done, which they've actually very recently announced another adaptation that they want to do of World War Z.
Yeah, because that would.
Now that it's been after a long enough time that people won't sit there and go, "Hey, you're copying Walking Dead," which was the entire reason that they changed the movie World War Z so much. Even though Walking Dead copied World War Z, if they made a movie of World War Z, it would have been seen as copying Walking Dead. So Walking Dead's been finished long enough, and nobody really cares about the spin-offs much, even though they do still get some people watching, that they can properly adapt World War Z.
Just the stoic waiting. I feel like in every military movie in this era, you've got to have just some some stoic waiting.
Yeah.
Some good
That's
glory
right,
shots
Frank.
of military hardware before you blow it all up.
Mhm. It's glory shots, but at the same time, the dudes are just like lounging.
Yeah.
And again, so according to what I've read, those were all actual servicemen doing their stuff. And I've I wouldn't doubt that they would be lounging by their Browning 1911. No, not 1911,
Oh, we get
1919s.
the first full
The
reveal.
reveal.
Now I'm looking for it specifically here. Okay, yeah, you can right there. You did see three little. You can
Mhm.
see them. The
Yeah.
the faux tripod, the little energy beams going
Mhm.
down to the ground, because they are
Yeah.
supposed to be tripods, even though they're obviously 99.9% of the time depicted as hovering in this movie.
They're supposed to be tripods, but it was deemed far too expensive to do tripods.
Yeah, it would have been very difficult.
And nobody was really sure how they would move properly without looking ridiculous. They even talked to Ray Harryhausen about doing stop motion tripods. He
Well, you even have
made
the
a bit of a
dialogue
name for
right
himself
there.
working on things like Mighty Joe Young.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, I'm saying, like, even the dialogue right there, kind of explaining. Okay, sorry, the guy just lifted the bazooka backwards. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
He had the big flared part pointing to it.
Oh,
It must have
jeez.
just been a little goof that just was like, it's fine.
Yeah. The this whole thing with the priest, I think, is really interesting. There's some mention of like clergy and stuff in the books, and the character they call the curate in the second half of the book. He goes kind of insane about God and destiny and stuff like that. But I kind of like the way that they treat the religious figure in this movie, even with how he turns out, how his ending goes.
Yeah. Well, this would be there's no way if you had a true belief in God,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way that an event like this wouldn't affect you deeply. Just
Yeah.
the implications of what it might mean. So, but this also, I feel like they give him a compassion here that I appreciate. That he's, I don't know, he's not. I feel like a modern take on this would have made him an idiot.
And yeah, it would have been far more cynical and disrespectful.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the attempt here, even if it's not perfectly executed. That there is, yeah, they treat him with a degree of respect, which again, in the era, religion was treated with generally more respect. In the 1950s, it was still considered a vital part of culture that needed to be, and clergy were like just as important as many other. I love on the ground. As they're hovering forward, you actually see like the impact on the ground below them. Again, kind of keeping up the idea that no, they are being held up by something that is interacting with the ground.
Yeah, and you see the three little lights underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It's also noted that like during the 50s, it even by this time, they were the whole flying saucer thing since 1951, and the thingy that we
David.
already watched.
Yeah, David System.
Okay.
Okay.
Day the Earth Stood Still had really established that, and they specifically didn't want that. And this was these things were actually designed by a Japanese man, and he wanted them to reflect manta rays.
Yeah. They look good. I mean, that's the thing is too. I think that they look interesting, especially again when the era of most of the time it was just a flying saucer. That these had it was copper with the green, the cobra head. This is a fantastic prop for 1953.
Yeah, and that's quite a quite a way to begin the war.
Yeah, and here you
Priest
have the
gets
really
annihilated.
interesting special effect of like they look like the glass covers you put over a cake on like a stand, but they
That's
did like
essentially what they were.
Yeah, and they used like a really cool like matte process to give them shields essentially.
Yeah. Well, part of it was they used mirrors. So that way they're like shooting the miniatures, and they had they're filming a semi-transparent mirror with the glass casing on the other side of it, in order to make it appear as if it's happening while they're like flashing little lights against it.
Yeah, this whole sequence, like, this is impressive. Like, this, the sheer amount
Yeah.
of pyrotechnics going off, they're showing so many military pieces of military hardware. Oh, this movie did make use of a decent amount of World War II combat footage, didn't it?
Yeah, the like firing of the rockets and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Here we also see the other weapons from the wingtips, essentially the green rays, which were kind of the replacement for the black smoke in the book.
Yeah, the black smoke. I forget about the black smoke. That was creepy. It was like a bio weapon.
Yeah,
and
but
then
it's just
the
like
heat rays which disintegrate is something that
Well, and-
keeps up like the
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say the green, the effect there on the soldiers, that it kind of just the leaving it black. I think that's kind of the closest they're able to get to just the, there's just nothing left but kind of black dust. It just kills
Which-
everything.
in the book it was distinctly referred to as a heat ray that came out of a box that these things held. And so this is something we'll talk about next week, but Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds is just as much a remake of this movie as it is an adaptation of H.G. Wells' book. And so many things that this movie established, given that Spielberg grew up watching it, informed his choices in that, including, instead of a heat ray, having that disintegration beam.
Yeah.
Because that disintegration beam is one of the like creepiest and coolest and most
it's-
horrifying.
Here you go.
But
Here's
yeah,
that fire
this-
stunt.
Yeah. There's that fire stunt. There's another fire stunt right here. This guy.
Yeah.
This is the big one. Like, that is absolutely an insane shot right there. This colonel right here. He's the one who gets disintegrated in a second here, right?
Yeah. He died. He like runs towards the camera and then dies, I think.
They have over 400 frames that they had to individually tailor for that death.
Well, I think part of the menace of these also is that they're kind of moving slowly. Like in a weird way that makes it more menacing. Just that they're not in a hurry. They are so superior. They don't need to rush this.
That's actually something that I really like in things like this. I've noticed that I don't get very attached to here's the death. Is he just kind of like, and you see the
skeleton
reflection of his skeleton beneath.
Yeah. That's definitely some Korean War footage right
used
there.
a lot in the video game Destroy All Humans. Have you ever played that one?
I did not. The random like recon plane that was just sitting there, and of course he knows how to fly it. I mean, again, he could have been a veteran. It's not a stretch.
Oh yeah, I bet that he would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
There they are.
Although, man, right here, one of my favorite jets of all time, the F-86 Sabre. He's just a cool looking Korea War era jet.
It is. That's the one with the wide open kind of jet.
Where the intake is actually like the nose.
Yeah. I love that shot right there of the plane crash. It's fairly simple, but like you don't actually see them coming up on the alien ships. You only see the craft kind of off to the right hand side as it's veering away, and I just think that it's a good use. And
very clearly a model.
Like, these guys were walking so that later, people could run in terms of special effects. It's so quaint by today's, but it's also so impressive.
Well, and it's
yeah,
and this was again too, science fiction was not taken seriously until this was the beginning of Hollywood starting to go, okay, maybe there's an audience for this. I mean, there's so many. I mean, even the things that we love were just treated, as the kind of schlock you throw on TV, at the late night, Lost in Space, and even Star Trek, when it first came out, and these films were like the early nudges that no, there's a market for this, and like put some money into this, to treat this seriously. Give
and
this,
now it's the single largest money making genre today.
It is, yeah, and there's I think there's some real value in kind of seeing where we started and where these ideas got going, and having a respect for the people who decided creatively to push to give this. I get some focus going there, guys. A little blurry. Again, I love the early pioneers who like, let's treat the subject matter seriously. Let's not treat it like it's a joke that only a few nut jobs would actually enjoy.
Yeah.
General Man. General Man? General Man.
Man, it's a general.
60% men, 90% material. That is, man, if you understand military situations, that is rough.
Yeah.
No.
Is this the scene where he has that one line? Anytime they move, no more news comes out of that area?
Maybe?
Mm.
And this
That's a
too, I
good
love
line.
the little line there that explains why we get like a prototype secret plane, because we get a rare, I forget how quickly we see it here, a very rare look at the early prototype flying wing with the propellers in the back, and not the first Avenger Hydra version where you get the actual, was it the YT, what was it called? I mean, it was a Lockheed Martin actual prototype. And they got some footage of it, like the actual thing, in test flights. Man,
Yeah.
even Bambi's on his way out here.
Yeah.
This is like the shot, I feel like, of just his like traumatized face. This is where he finally is like, all right, I'm not taking this casually anymore. This is bad.
Yeah. He's having a rough time.
But he's still got the what style tie is that from square dancing? Is it it's not a bolo tie?
Is that a bow tie?
You know what I mean? Just like the really short tie that's like kind of split in half.
That's a cravat.
A cravat.
They do make him look a little dirty, which is nice. And she's just so sleepy, and she's so
Aw.
pretty. Aren't you just having a good time, sir? It's the end of the world.
There's
It's
a pretty
again.
girl though. So
That's part of the end of the world.
You know, it's all right.
All the when the military is being wiped out, that just means there's all the more single women.
And the idea too that hey, the world's about to end. So, of course, just the one thing I will say, as much as again, I will happily give a pass for 1950s films. I do find it amusing the hysterics that are considered very normal for women.
Yeah,
they gotta act a little hysterical. And again, it's just that wasn't just this; that was everything of this era.
yeah.
Oh,
And I mean, you and I have both been in some odd situations. They're like, especially where we lived and grew up. Forest fires, evacuations, some natural disasters, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And you do get some people who are just in absolute hysterics, and they'll act just like that. But it's not just the women.
No, it's not. But interesting too that they're jumping here to a farmhouse, and this is one of the other scenes that is adapted. It's definitely not taken from the book, but it's a scenario somewhat adapted from the book. But they just kind of jump right to this house where there just happens to be like orange juice and eggs ready to go and a working stove still, and letting them have this moment before we get to the the kind of famous trapped in the basement sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But that they just immediately go to we're having some dinner, we're having some eggs and OJ. It's just to me it just seems kind of funny. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a little incongruous, but I also think that it's not entirely unrealistic. I mean, you gotta
be
eat.
hungry.
They've been through stuff, and like you stumble upon a house, and the person who owns it's probably dead.
Yeah. Well, and there definitely is a real. If you've ever gone through an event where you have a big adrenaline surge, you are quite hungry afterwards.
Yeah,
your body expends a lot of energy.
That it does.
Talking about her uncle, who was the clergyman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that bandana cravat thing is killing me now. I didn't notice it
didn't
when
notice
I
it?
watched this.
Lose
No,
that thing,
now
sucker.
it's all I can see.
Oh,
And I'm
man.
like, this is
It's
supposed
the
to
end
be
of the
big
world.
hero
You
guy,
can undo that top button. Let yourself breathe a little bit.
right? He would have made a good Superman, actually. He's tall.
Yeah. The way he's up against that window too, just kind of that, like, you know.
Oh, that's a great scene, though.
Yeah. Good. I mean, there's so much good miniature work in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the alien
For those
ships.
of you who aren't watching, because I doubt anybody is, given this isn't free streaming anywhere, like this scene, they have a house. They're at this cottage, and they have one of the alien cylinders like straight up land into the house, and they have it crush the house, and it's like toppling over on top of them, and they're like trapped in the house, and the dude like gets his ass kicked, and he's unconscious, and she's helping him, and yeah, I get it. She's kind of hysterical, but she's not incompetent.
No, she actually does help more than once. And I thought it was funny. He had that pose when he went up to the window and it went green right before it went, where it's kind of that like you're grabbing the wall. You kind of contort your body a little bit in a weird way. It's just funny.
Like, what is that over there?
Yeah.
And it's funny, if you look at the size of these craft, they're not very big. They're like, what, smaller than a semi-truck?
Yeah, I mean, the way they're portrayed in comparison to things around them, yeah, they're, I mean, definitely not any, I mean, at the biggest, what, 80 to 100 feet wide would be like the biggest they could possibly be. Probably closer to 60 to 80, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Oh, 1950s flashlights.
Flashlight.
It's always funny because they have to light this. This is back when you really couldn't light things darkly like you can now. So he's got a flashlight, but from the audience's point of view, this is quite bright still, which is just again, it's just a byproduct of just how you could film things that era. But here we've got the probe, the tentacle probe thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very famous sequence
quite
in the
iconic,
book. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the tentacle comes around, but it's more of like just a feeler. It's just kind of like looking around to grab stuff. It's not actually like looking. They can't see through it. But this ends up getting like straight up adapted in
exactly, yeah.
Spielberg's. And then there's kind of an adaptation of it in the 2025 Ice Cube War of the Worlds.
Is that where he quotes Ludacris?
Yeah. They're like, the tentacles are now coming inside to try and stop him from uploading the virus. And he's like, move, bitch, get out the way, but it's just...
Okay,
we have to watch that, Brian.
I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, and I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I know, same. But this thing, it was obviously like puppeted. They did really well at hiding the strings in this movie, like super well at hiding strings in this movie. They created like new technology that was used in later movies for hiding cables and stuff. It's pretty cool. But the result for this movie is that the set was incredibly hot because of the lights they needed.
Oh yeah.
In order to hide them.
They definitely in this version, they are starting to sell too. Just like how many of these things are coming down. Even as these, you have two there, one more kind of half off screen, and then another meteor coming in.
This is a genuine invasion.
Yeah, there's a lot of them coming in. They don't get into the whole. Quite literally, like, need like human biology to like live, like drinking our blood almost kind of a thing, like the book gets into. And Spielberg's version gets into a little bit with kind of the red tentacles everywhere and the collecting people.
They cut that out of Spielberg's version. Because
but the
scenes were considered too gruesome.
Ooh, there's an alien. Now,
yeah, I just like the little dart. Very E.T.-like. And again, I think Spielberg based E.T.'s initial appearance on how this thing shows up.
We're right. A nest of them. I do love the whole, I've got to get a look at him. He is still curious. He doesn't
have a lot of character until like this point.
Yeah. I love that they've blocked it. I'm pretty sure the house just fell down. But, it's all right.
Yeah, it's obviously it's the alien's psycho powers. It's definitely not that I'm weak and can't push to open a wooden
Well, and the
door.
idea that no, this house just is wrecked.
Yeah,
Oh, we got the probe
got
coming back
wrecked.
again. I do love the quite little RGB.
Right?
The,
That
the
that was
her
kind
look
of
her
an
look
odd
here.
effect, to be
Oh,
honest.
this is great though. Oh, I got an axe.
Whack it. Smash
One
it
hit,
with
though.
a hammer.
Yeah.
Like, look at
Yeah.
that. It's straight up copper.
Yeah.
Like, by today's standards, that's like $500 worth of copper that he's just destroying with an axe. Ugh.
Oh, and then here the hand. Ah, this is. But again, this is like this would have been terrifying. This is a sequence that by 1953 standards would have been like a horror film.
Yeah, this had never been seen before. This was the equivalent of like a horror movie.
Yeah, but I mean, by the
Um,
standards, this was too scary for general audiences to see in the in the UK. Like,
Yeah.
oh. Now,
And the
to
way
be
that
fair,
they created
my
these
reaction
things.
would have been might have been similar to be like
Fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
She freezes.
the flashlight.
It's like, ow, my face.
I have an axe.
But like you can see the like I love it running away.
Just skitters away.
He's like,
You just, I mean, they didn't know how to shoot the axe hitting him or whatever, but you know, the alien is just terrified of them, and oh man, I do like the fact that he's keeping the head, you know,
probe.
for you know, because you know it's like the one clue to their, and then you know you get a little bit of their blood here, and oh, I don't know. There's again, as cheesy as this is, there's some like real good ideas here about just oh sorry, the shaking the woman to make her calm down. It is oh
get
it-
yourself together.
it's a thing.
Parodied by today's standards.
oh
you know?
it really is. I so a running joke with my wife, who is just wonderful. I love her so much because she lets me joke about this. That I saw this on a T-shirt or bumper sticker, and you know, of course, this is absurd advice. Nobody follow this, but you know, the idea of a woman who's upset, you know, and the line is, what she just needs is a man to tell her to calm down. You know, any woman listening is like, yeah, you know what happened if that happened. But there's just, I don't know, there's just something, oh, I dare say charming about it, even though obviously nobody do that. It's bad. I'm not advocating for it.
When you have two people who are like mutual respect, they know the true intentions of the person and their senses of humor. Stuff like that, you can get away with it.
Yes.
You know,
Just would never ever say that to somebody else. And obviously, I've
Exactly.
never told
And-
her to calm down in a serious way. I've joked about, you know, I've jokingly said, "So, do you need a man to tell you to calm down?" And she just looks at me in that, you know, in that way that a wife can look at her husband.
I have that over the top, like 1940s, 50s, like a news announcer voice that I'll use. It's just like, "Come now, you need to stop that." It's just like, you should pull yourself together, woman.
Yes. So here's
And,
here's
you
where
know,
we've got a lot of stock
the
footage of World
difference.
War II going on here, and like the forest fire, and you know,
Mhm.
this is. I mean, if you're going to transition, I mean, you've already spent so much money on special effects, but you know, here's definitely selling the idea of how bad things got in a hurry, right? A lot of narration in this movie. You know, I forget sometimes how much just narration there is in this movie. And it's not even like a news announcer. This is just a straight up narrator.
Mhm.
Great silence
Yeah,
fell
yeah.
over half of Europe.
It's kind of like, again, how they use Morgan Freeman in the '05 version. I like this scene, okay, because you wouldn't know today. We wouldn't know what they're looking at, okay. They had that picture in a pan of water because they needed it so quickly that they were they was just being developed, and it was still in the developing liquid, the developing chemicals that they bring in there. It's just a thing that we would overlook today and not understand what we're seeing.
Yeah. I love that we do get a little nod here to the English, origin of this story. Because, I mean, he specifically points out, just, they understood the strategic, importance of England, and the English met, them magnificently. Yet, it was not to be, it's just, they do tip their hat to the British, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, this is still a story set in Los Angeles. Or at least in the Los Angeles area. Sorry. The Southern California basin.
Yeah, because it's the cheapest place to film.
Well, back then it was cheap to film. Yeah, but to say, then it was like very cheap to film. That's where all the studios were. Lord.
People still go to Hollywood to like get into filming, but it's getting bad. They're evacuating down there into like, especially Toronto and Australia and Louisiana and a couple of other places. It's crazy.
This is interesting as he's like, okay, one, this guy's like chalk drawing skills are really good, but that he's actually explaining their movement strategies, which is it's kind of cool that we're having a real discussion again. I mean, even though it's brief right there, that there is we're not showing the world leaders as incompetent. They are still trying to come up with things, and that this movie does avoid the cliche a lot of films have, including Independence Day, of having the president himself being kind of like the main guy who comes in and has a big, thing to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually really like Independence Day, and I think that Bill Pullman does a great job in that movie. But that you just stick with generals here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, the president's supposed to be the commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
And I think that setting up a president who is a war veteran makes the role more believable, where if we were making a movie like Independence Day today, like just think of the last 20 years. Okay, you're gonna make a war movie and you're gonna use Bush, and it's just like maybe he might have something. He was in the military, I don't know though, never was in combat. What are you gonna do? Obama, Trump, Biden?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to have them being serious contenders for having any knowledge of strategic things at all?
Yeah.
Because this guy in the coat's supposed to be the president, right?
Is he?
Maybe not.
Maybe he is. I didn't. If he.
That's what I always thought he was watching it, because I don't think they give him a specific title.
Pacific Institute of Science Technology. Love that. Okay, it's interesting too that we've had a.
Well, it's supposed to be like Caltech.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they kind of made up a school. I love that we had that big montage showing like them getting through the whole world, right? Mm-hmm. And is it that happened so fast that the amount of time it took them to get out of the hills, that much happened, or is it that the timeline, with that montage and then back to this, where we're back to the scientist, just not making it back to his university is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is a good prop, though. I mean, it's good copper work. The lenses look nice. The idea that we've got the fact that they want to immediately look at the blood under a microscope is cool.
Mm-hmm. And they have this lady here, which again, this is quite progressive for the time. Like the scientist expert on the blood is a woman. Like,
yeah. This is also very of the time too. I mean, both in H.G. Wells. Sorry. And the 50s, that the idea that physically an alien would be very primitive because their mind, evolution would have so favored their mind that they would have physically become very weak because their intelligence so makes up for it, and that the progression of evolution would have been favoring, almost would have rendered a lot of physical attributes that humans have just irrelevant. Because that's where the ideas of the big head with the big brain, and a lot of that goes back to a lot of early Darwinistic ideas and ideas about just how that would progress. A lot of people just assume that that's just a normal. Well, that's just what we thought aliens look like. There's a reason. There's an actual reason why a lot of authors of that time and scientists of that time went that direction with their theoretical ideas for aliens, right?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, if we had it on our schedule, but we removed it and we never got around to watching it, but we had Signs on our schedule to cover.
We will get to it.
And they bring that up. It's one of those things because they have a book in that movie that the kids read about aliens. and it's just kind of a conglomeration of the things that we expect to see that are the general theories related to UFOs, extraterrestrials, UAPs, whatever they're calling them these days. And it's really interesting because they say almost exactly that they're probably physically weak, because they're, going to be favoring intellectual capacity, stuff like that. She looks terrifying in this.
She
thing.
does.
This little...
The green is like unnerving.
But it also makes her look almost square-jawed.
Yeah.
She looks like a character who's going to try and beat up James Bond.
She does.
Like if they had some sort of femme fatale who was like a big, square-jawed, muscular woman. Like, she just has that vibe in that moment. Oh, yeah. Drops the bomb.
The flying wing.
The flying wing.
Oh, yeah. Check this thing out.
That's a cool thing. And that's
When
what they based the Valkyrie on in Captain America: First Avenger.
I mean, this was a real prototype. I remember watching, my grandpa was sending me VHS copies of Wing, the Wings channel, back when before it got, the Discovery took over everything, and all the early 1950s experimental planes, and this was one of those that just, oh man, captured my imagination as a kid. It's cool that it was here.
There is a very real chance that my grandfather actually helped work on these planes.
That's awesome. And this is all real footage. This is all actual test footage that was published by. I'm 99% sure this is Lockheed Martin that was developing this.
Northrop Grumman.
Was it Northrop Grumman?
Well, Northrop Corporation at the time. It was before the Grumman merger. This is the Northrop YB-49. I'm fairly certain.
Okay. Those are the two big ones. It's interesting. My oldest daughter went to college for a couple of years down in Lancaster, and I was down visiting her, and that's where a lot of the you see on the outskirts, because that's where Edwards Air Force Base is, where they spatially used to land, and they have a bunch of hangars where it is like skunk works and stuff on the side of the buildings, where it's like old development stuff that's not really being used much anymore. But it's like the history in this area back before this was like a big town, when there was just a lot of very top secret work being done out here in the desert outside of LA.
Yeah.
And then the idea here of are the atomic bombs going to be dropped? Let's just go check it out.
Yeah, all the people just sitting in the hills. It looks like if it wasn't for seeing the people's clothing on the left-hand side of the screen, I'd swear that was something out of like 10 Commandments. Well, it's the Jews all watching something.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because is it Seeley? He did all the disaster. He did the 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur. He was the big disaster guy, the big epic movie maker of the time. What was his name? Seal something? I should know this. He was one of the early, because they tried to get this movie made for a long time.
Yeah, they were trying to make this movie since 1933, I think.
I gotta.
Yeah, this scene is very much like homaged in that other movie, Independence Day.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's a good line. Like that they could destroy the world in 7 days, and she's just like the same number of days it took to create it.
Yeah, Cecil B. DeMille. Yeah, he's a famous director. Yeah,
I recognize that name.
Yeah, he's made some of the biggest disaster films of that era. I mean, big epic movies. I mean, again, he did 10 Commandments. He worked with Charlton Heston a lot. He was one of the people that Hollywood really was trying to get to make this movie before it got to this stage, obviously, because he had a real history and just big epic, end of the world dramas and disaster movies, that kind of stuff.
No, this is one of the first real disaster movies, because this was before the Towering Inferno. Yeah.
That there is at least some the idea that they're all like grouping up together.
Yeah, they know what's happening. They're all putting on
their goggles.
Things. God, to be that close to a nuclear explosion, a berm and some goggles aren't going to help you.
I do like the idea of the guy on top of the truck lays down.
Yeah.
Now they did
That
create.
kind of looks like the opening.
I would just say they did actually create a nuclear blast here. Like this was a practical effect to get the mushroom cloud. I mean, I forget what they used to get the.
I'm gonna be totally honest with
shape.
you. That looks better than Oppenheimer.
Really? You think so?
Okay, so he tried to create a practical nuclear bomb explosion, and without having actually set off a nuke, and it just didn't work. And I just hate the way that freaking fake nuke looks.
This definitely. So this is 100%. In Independence Day is redoing this scene when Independence, because they even had the B-2 Spirit having this crew up front. Immediately. Can you see him? Can you see him? And oh no, they're coming through. It's just this is very much Independence Day.
I was really
bummed
scene. When Corridor Crew was doing its breakdown of the best nuclear explosions in movies, and they didn't do this one.
Like toys
against them.
Can you imagine though? Just the realization that you just hit them with a nuke and nothing. Yeah. I mean, just like psychologically to the military, what that would be.
Yeah, just abandon the cities and create some sort of like guerrilla movement against the aliens.
The idea here though, that the general was just like looking at the scientists going, well, we've basically done all we can. It's up to you guys now.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, plan B.
Yeah.
You guys. Did you ever see the TV show Falling Skies?
I think I saw one episode of it. I think Pat wanted to show it to me. And I got one episode in and I just never kept going.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I always meant to go back to, but I never did. But I always liked the idea of a movie that's almost, or a TV show that's almost like, what's that movie? The Wolverines.
Red Dawn.
Red Dawn. Like Red Dawn with aliens.
That'd be interesting.
I always liked that idea.
I do like the idea also that
shows that kind of tried to start with that stuff.
Yeah, just the idea that so we can't beat their machines, and so we've got to find a way to beat, the aliens themselves.
Yeah. I always noticed though that the back window of this thing is cracked, and I don't know why, but I found it funny.
I just was thinking about the fact that, once again, and I get that they needed to sell the peril with that big montage, but that these guys, the kid and the dog, like, yeah, get some ice cream. Why not? The idea that the movie starts up in the hills above Southern California, and the aliens take over most of the world, but those particular aliens have not gotten to LA yet.
They look to be having kind of a rough time out there in the LA basin.
It's just it was a nice part of the world. They just were enjoying they were taking the scenic route.
Well, maybe it has to do with like military and capitals, and Los Angeles is important, but even during this time, like after World War II, they had a lot of people stationed down in like San Diego and stuff like that.
Maybe,
but the military preparations that they had around LA actually dispersed significantly because it wasn't of strategic value, like it to the Soviets or anything like that.
Yeah, it'd be more of a psychological.
There were a couple of Air Force bases in the hills.
Yeah,
but like that was it. I do like that matte painting shot.
Yeah,
of like the
going up into the
trail
hills.
into the hills.
Yeah, where would you go? Like, what would you just? You just have to just disperse into the rural areas and just try to make it work, right?
I guess so. You're gonna run into a lot of the people I grew up there with.
They would not happily.
Going, you city folk ain't welcome here.
Yep.
This is where our main character gets his leather jacket, and it becomes kind of his signature look for the remainder of the movie.
Of course, she's also the school bus driver, because of yeah. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the entire rest of the movie. Like we're in the finale now of him in LA, Like this is it.
Yeah.
This is him running around Los Angeles. You know, he deals with the there's gonna be a mob here at some point. You know, the idea. I do like the idea of they do give a mob some power here. I do find it amazing that this guy has so much important stuff with him, yet nobody stayed with him. He's kind of by himself. Because we also showed earlier, they showed very neat and orderly evacuations, right? Like they showed people calmly getting on buses. They didn't show massive. You know, nowadays you have that very classic shot of evacuations in a realistic way of everybody going crazy and car wrecks and traffic backed up forever. And they didn't do that until now. Now they're doing the classic mob scene, but they actually kind of already spent some time showing it being like. But here they didn't show the mob surrounding him. They just immediately cut to in the middle of the mob swarming his truck. They didn't actually show the initial part, which is interesting.
Well, there's also a couple of things that you could point to with like the way that evacuations are done are different than just like people getting out of someplace by choice. So they do actually move a little bit better. But that's a conversation for a different topic.
Yeah.
I love the scene where he's pulled out of the truck and there's like all the important things in the truck that they get away with. Caravan of Garbage made one of the funniest jokes. I love the cat. I just think it's hilarious. Made one of the funniest jokes. That's just like, oh, all the important stuff that he lost in the truck. And then when they did the 05, you know, when they take his van, it's just like, there's nothing important in there. Just Dakota Fanning.
Oh, I will say though that
who are these red helmets supposed to? The white and red helmets.
Yeah,
I
don't know. They're like civic, you know, something. I don't know. This is a decent riot scene though. Like just the sheer chaos happening and everybody just being.
It looks terrifying.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And that he doesn't really get a hero moment here, right? He just gets
he gets his ass beat.
Yeah. He doesn't even get like one good punch thrown. Like I will see when we get to next week. I do like this guy. The idea that nobody cares. He's got a briefcase full of money and jewels, and nobody cares. There's something.
It's not.
And of course, everybody's gone immediately. Like the speed at which that the entire mob is gone, and just these guys left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, that was an intense scene. But I was gonna say when we get to next week, the scene where they do take the van, like that whole sequence, I actually do think is like really expertly done. But we'll look at that later.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very.
They were
tense.
just lucky they were in New York during that time, because any other state and everybody would have had guns.
Yeah. Here he is, just running through the streets of LA.
Woo. This was apparently really hard to film, getting the streets cordoned off like this.
Yeah. Well, because there's a bunch of miniature work here done in LA when they show the ships actually getting into the city and the destruction. But this is actually shot on location, right?
Uh-huh. A couple of the scenes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, some of it.
All the clocks. Tick, tick, tick.
This is also, I feel like this is some of the only blood you see on his face here. Like, this is a pretty bloodless film. There's a lot of tension for sure, but they you find his truck.
Mm. And the deaths are all very, disintegrating.
Yeah. Oh, the school
She's
bus.
the school bus, and she's like, uh-oh, the girl I like is in danger.
Yeah, this is the closest they get to kind of paying homage to, in the book, him looking for his wife.
Yeah.
How eerie, though, would it be to be in a city like this size, LA, and have it be mostly empty? That would just be eerie.
Yeah. It'd be creepy as heck.
No, so this miniature work is fantastic. I mean, even by today's standards, this is really well done.
That one scene, it's so quick.
This has better comp work than The Last Stand does. I'm just saying.
Yeah, this is better comp work than The Last Stand. But they had that brief scene of the heat ray in front of that water tower, and then it moves back and hits the water tower and destroys it. It's so well done.
Yeah. The MPs are like, dude, get out of here. Oh. The fools cut their own throats.
He's nuts. Line. Come on, jump in. That's a different way of doing it. What is
Huh?
that building?
That's the
a
LA.
famous
That's
landmark.
it's the city hall. It's like LA's. At one point, I think it was like the police headquarters. It's on the shield for LA police officers, because I think it's City Hall. It's like the
Yeah.
main government building for LA.
Yeah.
This featured heavily in Dragnet back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, get out of here! I'm not going with you.
He is acting a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he really is just desperate at this point. And I think just feeling hopeless. Like, he had his version of the military watching their atomic bomb do nothing. That he's like, all right, so the instruments and the, what we had, they're gone. So there's nothing left. As
Yeah,
much
you
as
can see
is
the
it super
signs, but
cliche
they're
to go to
good.
a church, I also feel like it's very appropriate for this. And I actually think even in modern film, there is something, because this has been documented more than once all over the world, that in in really desperate situations, a lot of people will be like, you know what? Let's go to a church. Like, what's it going to hurt at this point? Or some sense of like refuge in a church.
Yeah.
It is a real thing.
And there's a lot of H.G. Wells wasn't the most religious person in the
No.
world, but he does reference like God and his infinite wisdom like several times throughout it. And then this movie deals a lot with the with the priest and everything and the best intentions of humanity, God's protection through the microbes and everything like that.
Oh, I mean, they straight
and
up
they
say
end
like basically, these were put here, by God's infinite wisdom. I think I forget the exact line at the end of this movie, but yeah, essentially that the solution was one that God provided like ahead of time.
Yeah. And they continue that into the 1988 sequel to this. Actually, every single episode of the series is a biblical reference.
Hmm.
Which is kind of cool. Because the series in that has it so that the microbes don't actually kill the aliens here. They
Like put them in hibernation or something.
Yeah, they put them in hibernation. Or they
That is
kill
a
some
good
of
shot.
them and
Like the
then some of them-
combination of
Yeah.
the miniature work, the models, and then him in front of the whole thing. Like, again, for the era, that looked good.
Yeah. I mean, I still like it today. I think that it has a lot of character.
It does. Well, and I think part of it too is I really do think the color is a big part of what makes this movie work. It's vivid. It's very alive. This is
the first movie that I remember seeing that has like that kind of sickly neon greenish glow associated with aliens. That's kind of like its thing these days,
Yeah. And here we go.
Like, why wasn't it blue blood? And there's the doctor lady. And she's just like looking like she looks like a Jewish bubby.
She does. Oh. I like his jacket though. It's a nice jacket. I would wear that jacket.
Yeah.
That jacket's come back into fashion.
What do you want to... I don't think it ever went out. What do you want to bet that that's the reason why Tom Cruise is wearing a leather jacket throughout the entirety of the 05?
Oh, I bet you at least it's part of it for sure.
Mm-hmm. This is Bob Hope billboard.
Yeah. He's just going from church to church at this point, too, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I suppose that the ending of this movie is very just kind of like... If this was made later, all right? It's like there would have been some sort of MacGuffin that he's after in order to, like, oh, this might be able to drop their shields or something.
No. Well, he's trying to find her. I mean, the first church, he said, I'll find her at a church near the door. Referencing her, her uncle. And
her previous comments, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just the end of the movie is I think he's the only thing he has left is just finding her.
Yeah.
There is no, like you said, there is no last minute. We have a last minute plan, and if we come up with that plan, we might, and even something like in the Tom Cruise version, where if all we can do is just get to this location to reunite with this person, some kind of where he knows he was trying to get to, right? He was trying to get to, I think, Boston, like. where his kid's grandparents or something. And in this one, I mean, there is that he's looking for one specific person, but that he's not looking for a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
He's given up on solutions. He's just trying to find somebody.
Yeah. And, it's just like, here they are trying to get across this crowd. The aliens are outside. Everybody's terrified. This is like a genuinely hopeless situation right here, And I wonder how many people would have been watching this at the time, not knowing how this ended, not knowing anything about this story, where they're pretty much like, this is a tragedy in the making, Like, there's no happy ending to this. How can there be?
Other than the trauma, is there anything? And then
what's going on here?
It's not glowing anymore. It's tilting. The lights are blinking.
Dun dun dun. But yeah, that's the best shot for giving kind of like the scale, I think, to them as it crashes into the storefront. And I feel like her hair changed color.
The narration here too, it's very quiet. Like, I'm actually getting it more with the subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, this is it. This is the movie's over.
Yeah. Solemn violin theme playing.
And just, like I said, I like the idea that we couldn't stop this. I know there's something as much as, gosh, I love Independence Day. That movie is such a nostalgic shot, in my heart. The Mr. President, I've got this kind of thing. But there is something from a purely story point of view that's just interesting about the idea that we couldn't solve this. I do really like the idea. I think it's one of those, you have to get it just right now you present it.
Mm-hmm. This right here was pretty interesting. They had to do all kinds of stuff with like the chemicals to get the lights right on it. And then this thing is literally like a tube, like a rubber tube that they were blowing into. They had a guy on the other end just blowing into a tube and sucking in, and blowing into a tube and sucking in, and they were able to get it to create the correct movements.
And just like the arm falls down here in a second, right? It's just like, another one crashes. It is such a shame.
Sound effects are good.
They are. Man, I so wish one of these models had survived, right?
Yeah. And that's when you see it like...
The light changes. It's an effective sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely looks... They did a really good job. The art department, it looks very organic. They did a good job of that.
Well, because they had like the primary tubes, and then they had the secondary tubes that give it like veins. And he kind of like looks in there, and yeah. And of course, they reference this scene. It was one of my biggest annoyances, actually. Okay, you get to the 05 version. We'll talk about this next week. But they reference this scene, and it's crap. They do it so stupidly in the 05 version. Like, it's a cool scene in theory, but they mess up the sequence of events that makes it nonsense.
We have long since become immune.
Once they breathed our air, and ate our food, is the way that it's put in the
it's a good shot of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, what's left of it. Brazil, this is one of those... I wonder if this is the first movie that has that, like, panning over to all the great monuments that we all know.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as people, kind of poke fun at all these people are still at the Hill from watching the atomic bomb fall. They never left. They're still there.
I mean, it'd probably be a moderately safe space.
Yeah. But I mean, as much as it's like, they're always attracted to landmarks. Well, general audiences need to know where you're going. So, I mean, you got to pick something where you can just, people know what you're showing them. So, and that's it. That's the movie. Yeah. Like,
that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Nice and short. And it's recommending to me on Amazon Stargate SG-1, The Angry Red Planet, Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict. God.
Oh gosh, but it is. This is like you put it really well. This, and I really do in my mind put this and The Day the Earth Stood Still together as the movies that walked so science fiction on the big screen could run. That they proved that there was an audience for it. They really established some key core ideas that would become building blocks of a lot of science fiction for decades to come. And they were both well made. They really were. I think that's where if you are capable of, and I like to think that we both are, but I would say to anybody who's going to watch these, understand the context of the era they were made in, the world they were made in, the technology they were made with, and there's some genuine appreciation to be had for them. And I like them. I mean, yeah, are they as riveting or attention grabbing as some of the modern stuff? No, but there's some real value to them. And I think that anybody who just dismisses them as out of hand because they're slower or because they have stereotypes that are just, so out of fashion in society that I can't get past them. It's like, you should try. You should try to appreciate them for what they are. There is something to them that is worth it. So.
And I completely agree. And also, I think that this is one of those movies, because there's a lot of those movies that do move slower. This movie does not move slow.
No.
This is a brisk movie. Even by today's standards, this is an exciting movie. It might not have the same level of action that you want, but I still think that it doesn't deserve to be called slow. Where a lot of other 50s movies around this time, like you go watch Thunderball, okay? I like James Bond movies. And the old ones have their rough spots in a lot of ways, but like Thunderball has like 15 minutes of underwater diving sequences. And it's so boring. Or even like Jaws, 20 years after this. I love Jaws, actually.
If you're about to slander Jaws, we're going to fight.
The third act slows down and has some pacing problems. Fight me.
We'll talk some other time. I consider Jaws to be almost a flawless film.
The third act slows down a bit.
All right.
But one of the things that is, I'm just saying, by today's standards of movie action, it's easier to revisit this movie because of its pacing than it is to revisit Jaws. And I can prove that by having shown this to somebody of Gen Z and shown Jaws to somebody of Gen Z, and they found this easier to pay attention to.
I would agree that this, okay, man, this really just, you took this an interesting point of view, interesting direction, man. I would totally understand and expect if you weren't looking for cinema to just have this movie to be easier to digest, because it is faster. It is more. It is a little bit easier. It's definitely faster paced. I will argue all night long with you that Jaws is a masterclass in cinema, and you almost need to explain to some people, like, you need to understand why Jaws is so good, because it's not as it's like really high end music or really high end theater. Like there's things where you almost need to have it be taught like why it's so good, but it is there. This movie is definitely more accessible. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. You're pricking at, you picked an example that I really, really love. So anyways,
no, I agree. It's again, showing my wife
You're fine.
Various movies. This one was easier than like even showing her Jaws.
Yeah.
Because Jaws is a lot slower in a lot of ways.
It is. It is.
One thing I wanted to mention that is like a tragedy. Okay. This movie won an Oscar for Best Special Effects. And the guy who led the whole thing, his name is
Gordon. That's right. I remember the story. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the dude who did incredible visual effects going all the way back to, let me see here, like 1932. Okay, Island of Lost Souls, King of the Jungle, old Alice in Wonderland black and white thing. All these just little Thanks. I love some of the titles going through this guy's stuff. Dr. Cyclops, Mystery Sea Raider, um, This Gun for Hire, Beyond the Blue Horizon, So Proudly We Hail, The Negro Soldier, Our Hearts Were Young and Gay. Like, this dude, he did special effects, he did special photographic effects. And this was like his crown jewel. He was one of the people that really created a bunch of these interesting technologies that helped make this movie look as good as it did, especially during that time. And he died before the movie was released.
Yeah, he never
he
got
had
to
like
see.
a heart attack.
Yeah,
He never got to see the movie release. Never got to see the prizes that it won. It was really, really a bummer.
yeah,
You know,
it's a tragic. Yeah, I remember reading that also, and just the fact that his work won an Academy Award. This movie was the standard for visual effects for a long time, and yeah, just that he never got to see the kind of the fruits of his labor fully realized. Because this movie was also very successful commercially. I mean, it was. I don't have the exact numbers, but I mean, it definitely was a hit, especially considering its budget at the time. So
yeah. Well, I mean, its budget was $2 million. Its box office, they believe, was around $2 million, like officially, but there were all kinds of like theaters that weren't reporting properly around that time. They didn't have the same data that we get today.
yeah,
So it made a lot more money than that. It probably made $2 to $6 million. I mean, like between $2 and $6 million,
yeah,
which is impressive.
and just one of those movies that just kind of endured too in the cultural zeitgeist for a long time. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
this is definitely, and I mean, this movie's influence is like we talked about Independence Day and 2005. Like this story, this movie specifically, has influence to this day in science fiction, and this is why I I've told my kids this, and talking about about reading things and seeing these old movies. If you enjoy film, if you enjoy genre filmmaking, especially, I really do think that everybody should at least develop a certain amount of understanding of like where things came from, like what were the original thoughts and ideas and designs that evolved into what we see today. Because I think that you can appreciate the new stuff better if you understand where it came from. I'm a firm believer in that, and this is definitely if you appreciate science fiction. And you love the themes and the visuals and some of the cliches, where some of this stuff came from, reading some of this early stuff, seeing some of this early stuff, can be a real treat if you're on a journey of discovery of just the origins of something you love.
I also think that this is a really good entry point for stuff like science fiction and horror for a younger generation.
Yeah.
I think that in a year or so, my sister listens to this podcast. Okay, she has two youngins. My oldest Denise is turning 4 in like a couple months, and it's just like I think 4 or 5 years old. I think that maybe this is the type of movie that she could be shown to maybe even like help her grow an appreciation of older movies, and teach her a little bit about science fiction and kind of get used to it without going into the stuff that we have today that is so much more graphic and shock value.
It's very intense
this has
too.
a tameness to it,
Yeah,
while also being able to introduce aspects of intensity.
yeah. No, I completely agree.
But that's just me. And she'll probably text me when she listens to this and be like, no, but we'll find out.
Let us know, man. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I enjoy revisiting this movie whenever I get a chance. Yeah, like I said, this is a film that I have a deep love for, and I probably watch this every 2 or 3 years. I kind of come around this again. I keep putting them together, but they really they coexist in my mind. That this Criterion, please release Day of the Earth Still on physical media. I want a good library copy of that. I would love it. It would sell. The movie's beloved. Anyways, if you are curious, we have already recorded a podcast on that film. So if anybody's listened to this and they've discovered us recently, that was a really fun one. We did that almost a year and a half ago, and that was a really fun episode to record. So if you're curious on our thoughts on that film, go check out that episode. And we will be back next week with the Steven Spielberg follow-up from what was that 2005, right?
2005,
Yep.
or technically 2004, I think. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I'm looking forward to that
just Google the greatest science fiction movies of the 1950s. War of the Worlds, Forbidden Planet, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and The Blob are the first ones mentioned.
Two of those I'd agree with.
Yeah.
So.
Forbidden.
No, I'm teasing. I actually don't know
I'm
the other
putting
ones.
it on the list.
I know. I actually don't. The problem that I have is that I don't know those movies nearly as well because my mom didn't love them, so she didn't show them to me very often. These ones were like childhood movies for me, so I just know them.
Yeah,
I have
my
more,
dad made us watch Forbidden Planet a lot.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's been a long time. I would be totally happy to revisit that film.
Well,
The Blob,
you know it's The Tempest, right?
I don't know much about, so yeah. But yeah.
Anyway,
please join us next week for the next War of the Worlds. A little bit different this time.
bit,
Good night,
but
everybody.
not much.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow, that room will eat you.